There, everybody, and today we are reviewing Halloween 2. So, I think this came out early 80s, and it's not as good as the first one, but it's definitely a solid sequel, in my opinion, because, in my opinion, most horror movies that have sequels don't really work out, since they're kind of just making movies just to make horror movies. But hey, there's not to say that's a bad thing. I'm all for a sequel, but usually they just don't do it well. It's usually just a boring sequel, or it becomes silly. That's kind of how I view most of the Halloween movies. But the movies that I really love that has sequels in it is, of course, the Scream movies. But for Halloween 2, it opens immediately after the first one. We even see like a recap of it. But mainly it takes place at a hospital where Jamie Lee Curtis, Laurie Strode, is taken to a hospital, is mainly nursed to care, while Michael Myers is still out hunting for her. And we find out why. And we also got Donald Pleasance back as Dr. Loomis. Rest in peace to him. But he's hunting for Michael. And we get a bunch of wild scenes in this movie. A lot of wild deaths warranted for the R rating. But we get like a fake Michael Myers. Someone's dressed like him for Halloween, but he ends up getting run over by a cop car, and then he flies into something, and then he literally explodes into fire. Very over the top death. I think that was probably the coolest death in this movie. But mainly the deaths happen in the hospital scenes where a couple in the hospital are having sex. But they end up, we get a bunch of nudity scenes, but Michael Myers shows up, and he ends up killing the boyfriend when he sneaks into the hospital, and he literally grabs the girl in the hot tub and just smashes her into the hot water, burning, boiling, and literally, stuff is, getting fused onto her face, and it's very, very graphic. So yeah, Michael Myers ain't messing around, and he's just as creepy ever. The best scenes is where he randomly shows up bumping into a kid and he blends into the background because it still takes place on Halloween. But yeah, we get a lot of scenes like that. But other death scenes in this, he injects a nurse with a needle, and it's graphic. But apparently we do learn why he's after Laurie is because apparently they're sisters. Brother and sister. For some reason. Like a half-sister, I'm pretty sure. But they try to explain it, but it's just whatever in my opinion. I didn't really get the plot twist, but it's more explored in movies like H2O or the infamous Resurrections. But Michael Myers ends up, the way he goes out in this movie at the end is when he ends up chasing Laurie throughout the hospital, and it's very abandoned. Now, one of the things that's cool about this movie is the hospital. It looks small scale. It looks creepy. It's not exactly abandoned, but it all takes place in this very small town. But Michael Myers ends up following Laurie, and he ends up going into her hospital room, and he ends up just stabbing a pillow. So yeah, he's willing to go full nuts on her. But it's mainly just her trying to escape. She even tries to go onto the elevator and escape. But Michael does catch up to her even though she sneaks out of the hospital and hides under the car, I'm pretty sure. But she ends up teaming up with Dr. Loomis, who finally is able to catch up with Michael. And the finale takes place in this room where Laurie ends up shooting Michael Myers in the eyes. And he ends up becoming half blind. And we get this iconic scene where he touches his face, his mask. And then the blood tears are coming down. And I think he ends up getting shot to death and then thrown into a fire, and it causes an explosion with Michael and Dr. Loomis, and we think that's the end of Dr. Loomis, but he doesn't return until the fourth one. But the Halloween 2 is definitely an interesting movie for sure. I think it's the way I view it is just like I think it's just like a decent sequel. Like it has the same beats as the first movie, still has that creepy music. It definitely I like how it takes place immediately after the first movie. It's like a straightforward sequel, and I think it came out a year after the first movie. But apparently they had a bigger budget because the first one did really well. But yeah, the kills are definitely brutal. Like I said, Michael Myers is still terrifying. But what I really like about the character is the mystery. Like, why is he killing? Is he just psychotic? But apparently in other sequels, they try to make him like a blood cult or something. It's weird, but maybe in the future we'll talk about that. But apparently this was originally back in the day. This was the last time we saw Michael Myers for a little while. Because in the third one, he apparently was not in the movie at all. It's apparently they tried to do their own thing, but it didn't work out. So they brought him back in the fourth one, which is it's just kind of a sequel to this movie. But it's alright, I guess. So I'd probably give Halloween 2 probably a 6 out of 10. Not as good as the first one, but still a fine sequel to watch. Like, I don't mind watching it. Than the other ones that are kind of cringy to watch. But next year, we'll review the third one if this video does well. But anyway, thanks for watching, and happy Halloween. And I'll see you all next time.